Hello and welcome to the FRAG channel. I'm Ben and today we're going to continue or finish rather my Higurashi solo series where I talk about and give my opinions on the Higurashi series. So today we'll be talking about the final answer arc chapter, the fourth and final answer arc chapter, Matsuribayashi. So this pretty much sums everything up and it's supposed to be the good ending practically, I guess, where pretty much everyone has gets away with a happy ending. Well, sort of, but I'll get into that later. Since I finished the series now, how about we start with how I enjoyed them all overall. So I'm going to rank all of the answer arcs. And this is weird because I ranked them differently to what I actually think they are now in the last video. But if I had to rank the answer arcs, I think I'd like the Matsuribayashi arc, answer arc first. That's the first one of the answer arcs. Second, I'd like Higurashi, which is the second answer arc. And third, I'd like Matsuribayashi, which is this one that I'm reviewing, the last answer arc, the fourth and last answer arc. And the last one, the one that I like the least, is Higurashi, which is the third answer arc. So that's pretty much how I ranked them. In the last video, I ranked Higurashi first, but it's been a while since I really thought about it, and I remembered that, oh yeah, Matsuribayashi was the arc which was probably the most emotionally impactful one, like with scenes like, Rika and Satoko and all that, yeah. And Shion and like how she deals with everything at the end of the series as well. So that's why I've ranked it first when I realized, oh yeah, that's the one I think I enjoyed the most in terms of like emotionally impactful. Higurashi was also very emotionally impactful, and that's why I ranked it second. Matsuribayashi was nice, especially with uncovering all the secrets. And not only that, but going through lots of the side characters as well, and kind of their motivations and their stories as well, and piecing together all the pieces. I really like that, and so that's why I ranked it third. Higurashi, it wasn't a bad chapter, but I just liked it the least. So, in comparison to everything else, so that's why it's fourth. Anyway, let's go through Matsuribayashi and let's talk about what I thought. So, how about I talk about the ending first? Let's just get all the big stuff out of the way. So it all ended, and we get this supposed happy ending where no one necessarily has to die, and Keiichi and Mion and everyone else, they seem like they're fine and they're doing good. And yeah, it's practically a happy ending there, which is good, but I feel like I would have liked a little more closure with the ending. So they ended it, and they go through a little bit of the backstories. They do those things where, Keiichi decided to da-da-da-da-da-da, and Mion had graduated, and she's doing, they did those with each of the characters. But they never really resolved anything with Satoshi. So in this chapter, we learn that Satoshi he's not dead. He's still alive. He was being held in the basement of the Irie clinic. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So Shion can get a nice, happy ending too. But nothing was really resolved by the end of it, because he's still kind of crazy. So the reason they held him down was because he was crazy. So he's still kind of got the Hinamizawa syndrome, and he hasn't been quite cured yet. Shion visits him all the time, but he's never actually gotten out. That's why I would have liked a little bit more of like a happy ending and closure to that end of the story as well, because this was supposed to be like the kind of the perfect ending. Well, perfect, not for everyone. Takano, yeah, ends up, taking all the brunt of everything as the villain at the end of the series. So nothing that could have really been done there, but it doesn't seem like she had that bad of a end, all things considered, though. Seems like, what was his name? The photographer. No, his name escapes me now, but he seemed to have stuck his neck out for Takano, and she's not in that bad of trouble. Yeah, but it would have been nice. Like, if I was Ryukishi, what I would have done is I would have had another ending scene, or added another scene to the end. And what would happen is Satoshi would have been cured. Irie would have found a cure for the Hinamizawa syndrome, and he would have helped cure Satoshi, and he would have gone out of the clinic, basically. And so Satoshi and Shion and Mion and Keiichi and all that, they go back to the school and they have one final like club game, basically, with all the members. And I think that would have been like the best way to end it. I often think, yeah, ending series where it's not just, oh, and they all lived happily ever after, right? That's kind of how I felt this one ended. But I think the best endings are the ones where you don't just say they lived happily ever after. You kind of show the reader what kind of all the characters going back into their daily routine of life, and how they're just doing their club things again and having fun and all that stuff. And I think that would have had a better impact. But there wasn't quite that extra bit of closure with Satoshi, but that's fine. It was still a good end, and everyone seemed to have a good end, and I'm so sure Satoshi would be cured at some point, but they never really covered it. So yeah, but it was a good ending regardless. I didn't have that much of a gripe with it, but if there was any small critiques I'd add, it'd just be like more closure to the ending to make it like happier with Satoshi. But yeah, that's basically it. I thought the ending was good, and it was a good ride. It was a good series. I really enjoyed going through it, despite a lot of the criticisms I had to some of the writing, with the convenience and the convoluted aspects to some of how he answered a lot of the things in the series. I still had fun along the way, and by the time you finish reading the series, you get to also read or access the staff room, which is basically a message from Ryukishi to all the readers. And he basically goes through and he says, well, as long as you enjoyed the journey, that then you've won. And I kind of agree with that sentiment, at least for this series. It was a good journey. There was a lot of fun times, emotional rides all throughout, and I quite enjoyed it. We got a happy end. It was good. I liked it. I quite enjoyed Higurashi. Anyway, that's the ending. What did I really love about this? So the part about Matsuribayashi that I really loved was the fragments part. So it starts with you getting a lot of backstory on Takano and kind of what leads her to the position she's in when she gets to Hinamizawa, with her grandfather and pursuing his research and all that. But then after that, there's a little bit of a conflict with Takano and Hanyu. And yeah, then you start to go into fragments. So they give you a section where you have to piece together fragments of the past, before you can move on with the story. And I really loved that part. I thought it was pretty genius, actually. We get fragments and we get to follow many characters. We get to look at Irie and his motivations and what brought him to lead the clinic. And we also got to actually learn about what happened with the other deaths. So this kind of confirmed basically the situation and everything that happened around those deaths in the past. They're just, most of them are just coincidences. The first one, the second one, the third one was set up by Takano. So yeah. Yeah, she seems like she'd be guilty no matter what you do, because she's complicit in Rika's parents and their murder. So yeah. The fourth one was also a bit of a coincidence, though. So you basically, yeah, it's good to get that closure and understand, like, okay, so this is what happened now, and you finally know what happens with each of them. I also thought it was interesting how, so Irie, as we go, we learn that Irie actually knows everything about what happened with each of those deaths. He knows that the first one was a coincidence. He knows that the second one was. He knows the third one was probably set up by Takano. Like, he knows everything. But he's a really good liar. Like, he can, well, maybe he's not lying, but he's really good at hiding that. Like, there's so many scenes back in the when you're reading Higurashi where, like, Shion's like bawling and saying, like, when will Satoshi come back? Why is he gone? Where would he go? And then and she's talking to Irie about this, and he knows everything. He knows everything that's happening. He knows that Satoshi's in the clinic and all that stuff, and he's just like, yeah, I know, it's so sad. And so, yeah, for him to hide that, he's pretty good. But he practically knew everything. Yeah, you got to learn a lot, even about Satoko. You got to get into her mindset a little bit back in the past as well, with how she was, yeah, dealing with her situation, and just how the Hinamizawa syndrome kind of got to her. So yeah, she ends up killing her parents. So that was pretty. Oh yeah, that was pretty dark. Yeah, you get to learn a lot basically, and I kind of like that. Even when Rika and Hanyu decide to play around in the fields to kind of lure in Keiichi's dad to moving into Hinamizawa, you get to learn all of this, like the entire setup for everything that sets you up for the fifth year in 1983. I really like that. I really like the fragments and how they're all put together, and learning everyone's story. I thought that was really good. I really like that aspect of this. And it was a good aspect to have for that closure, to kind of like close off the story and answer any other questions that a lot of people might have had. So that was really good. I really loved that aspect to it. And yeah, any gripes I had with it? Not particularly. Like, I think this, unlike unlike a lot of the other chapters, this one was relatively well put together. Oh well, if I really thought about it, I could probably nitpick a bunch of different things, but on the grand scheme, I thought it was relatively well put together. There wasn't no convenience or particularly convoluted aspects to the storytelling like they did in the other ones, when explaining the other chapters. So it was pretty good as far as it goes, and it had that good ending as well. Everyone seems to be fine. Yeah, I quite thoroughly enjoyed finishing Higurashi and going through that all as well. But that's basically what I thought about it, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I guess I should really thank Ryukishi for taking me through the ride that is the Higurashi series. He's made a pretty good piece of work, despite some of his weird, convoluted, and convenient storytelling. He made a good work, and like you said in the staff room, I had fun along the way, and the ending was good as well, so that's fine. So I came away with this feeling good. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else for me to talk about. I think I've shared about everything I have with this. That's been the yeah, so that's been the Higurashi series and my solo series on the Higurashi series. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks to Ryokishi and everyone else who helped work on the games as well. It was really good. But I suppose that should be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to leave a dislike. We're also open to criticism. Tell us why you liked it, why you didn't like it, or give us any of your other thoughts that you thought about the Higurashi series as well. How did you enjoy the Higurashi series? What were your gripes about it? What did you love about it particularly as well? You know, because I thought the fragments was actually really good. I like that aspect to it. there's also like a secret achievement that you can get in the game as well, and it requires you to go through the fragments in a very particular kind of way to find this one other secret fragment once you finish the game. Quite tedious, but once you do it, yeah, you get a little bit like it doesn't really like add that much to the story, but like it almost gives you like this alternate path. And I know there's a lot of side stories with Higurashi as well. Like there's the main, so I guess this is like the main story, but there's a lot of other visual novels, games, things. There's a lot of other side things in the Higurashi world and series, I guess. Reading through this, I've been like really burnt out, but I really enjoyed it as well. So I'm not sure I'd get into those, but yeah, there's a lot, and I guess that secret achievement that you get with like an additional fragment kind of talks about like how you can rearrange things and change the world into like many different aspects and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of side stories as well, so yeah. But yeah, that's practically been that. So yeah, feel free to leave a comment on what you did like or what you didn't like, and what you thought about the series as well. That's been me for this video though, and yeah, I guess I'll see all of you guys in the next video, or whatever it may be. But yeah, see ya.